At the beginning of the trailer, the heavy, diegetic sound of the train departing the station platform leads to the development of eerie, thumping, non-diegetic music. The diegetic speech of the female character at the beginning, "Please don't go to Ilmar's house," is spoken in a quiet yet warning, cautious tone to the protagonist. Ilmar's house also establishes where the protagonist is travelling to, also signifying the primary setting of the film. "Please don't go" indicates it to be a location by which may be considered dangerous, forbidden. This warning tone may imply that by the lead character visiting the house, he's almost certain to disturb who or what may be living there. "Please don't go" contrasts with the elder male character's diegetic speech. If we open the door to superstition, where does that lead? This cleverly intertwines with the diegetic sound effect of the character opening the door, entering into a place of mystery. Superstition may refer to the overwhelming belief in supernatural entities. If we open the door, where does it lead? Creates a sense by which the protagonist is about to embark on a journey full of uncertainty, and through what will he and the audience achieve by believing in the concept of the supernatural and entities that exist beyond our knowledge and beyond our world. It seems as if the elder male character is encouraging the protagonist to enter the house. This alerts the audience of the genre, lets them know the journey that's about to begin, and also acts as a direct warning to them, but by the protagonist entering the house, something is bound to happen. The suspenseful, unnerving music continues whilst combining with diegetic sound effects such as the spinning of the toy lamp and the non-diegetic heavy shutter of a camera capturing a photo, cleverly revealing the old family photo or perhaps previous residents of the house. The continual diegetic sound of the spinning toy lamp is lowered in volume and features as part of a sound bridge with a thumping non-diegetic music. The diegetic speech of the lead character, "I feel she's there, trying to reach me," is spoken in a slow, cautious, believing tone. It also clarifies to the audience someone is with him, not in physical form, but perhaps in the presence of a supernatural form. Shortly after, a non-diegetic gliding sound can be heard, creating a sharpness that is aggressive to the ear. This may initiate a chain of events about to happen, perhaps a turning point in Freytag's climax, and also in Todorov's narrative structure, firm disruption or recognition of disruption in the equilibrium of the trailer. The gliding sound leads to the diegetic sounds of the violently creaking rocking chair. A sound bridge is used that we hear the rocking chair before we see it. This creates an element of intensity, a build-up to what the character may find. The ticking of a clock also signifies a building up. A significant event is about to happen. It also may imply that the character is running out of time, and time is a common theme within supernatural horrors. A sound flash of heavy thunder indicates a storm, whilst also matching the stormy and disorientating nature of the film. Moments of silence and stillness, moments of high intensity, action, and supernatural happenings. The non-diegetic thumping music continues, intertwined with the elder male character's voice. "I believe even the most rational minds can play tricks in the dark." This demonstrates a conflict in belief and non-belief in the supernatural, whilst also may reveal the lead character to be rational, logical and confident, which are traits that are soon to be experimented with, whilst it also still suggests the elder male character's sort of disbelief in the supernatural. The non-diegetic music leads to an abrupt stop and the protagonist's diegetic speech, "Who's there?" This diegetic speech causes fear in the audience, whilst also creates an element of mystery and enigmatic concern due to the lead character recognising that he's not the only one or thing staying in the house. The tough, thumping, non-diegetic sound acts parallel to the visuals on screen, the leaning and pushing of light to dark. The pace of this rapidly increases in volume and leads to a high-pitched, ghoulish sound, or perhaps of a soft, quiet scream, leading to the title card, "The doorway has opened." The diegetic speech of "They prey on those most in need" may refer to the male's vulnerable and feeble position. The wary tone voice also causes alarm. This leads to a fast rhythmic pace, a montage of sharp, thundering and crashing sounds, leading to a final thump indicating the end of the trailer and revealing the title of the film, "The Woman in Black." At the start of the trailer, there is a simple straight cut from the train station platform to the production studio's logos. After this, a short reverse shot occurs between the protagonist and female character. This enables the audience to experience what is being said from both points of view. It also clearly demonstrates how both characters are feeling. The female, concerned and worried, the male, curious and wary. The next shot is faded into from black, revealing the long roadway, which could perhaps signify a sense of isolation. A fade may accentuate the slow rhythmic pace of the vehicle, however a short take emphasises a fast rhythm to introducing the setting of the film. A series of straight cuts and short takes begin, reinforcing the montage element of a teaser trailer. These short takes lead to a medium-long shot of the character, but also an eyeline match point of view to an establishing shot of Ilmarsh House. An interesting straight cut occurs after the protagonist opens a door to enter the house. A door is opened, revealing dusty, cobwebbed monkey ornaments in a desolate room. It seems to play out as a match on action. However, the darkness of the second shot and the confined space to which the ornaments are revealed juxtaposes with the airy open space of the entrance, the door the character is really opening to. A sense of continuity is suggested, however the use of temporal editing allows a sequence of takes not to be bound by linear order. Audiences are treated to snippets to which occur throughout the film. A fade to black reveals the protagonist spinning the toy lamp, whilst a straight cut intertwined with a flash, as if a heavy shutter on a camera, and as a picture has been taken, reveals the old family photo of previous residents who occupied the house. A flashback does not occur, however, there is an indication that past events will be the basis of the film. A historical event featuring the family on the photo has great significance to the supernatural happenings that will take place. This is reinforced by the dark, shadowy female figure peering through the window in the background of one of the photos. The protagonist's diegetic speech, "I feel she's there," may anchor this mysterious female figure. An essence of continuity is represented through the straight cuts of the protagonist investigating some photos and papers, the door swiftly opening ajar in the background, to him curiously looking around and discovering the family photo to have been scratched whilst distracted. This shows the initial paranormal happening in the trailer, indicating to the audience that the character's worst fears have become true and that his presence in the house has disturbed a supernatural entity. A straight cut to black may accentuate a turning point in the trailer. Equilibrium via Todorov's narrative structure has firmly been disrupted, whilst the initial conflict between the protagonist and supernatural entity indicates the rising action stage through Gustav Freytag's five-part narrative structure. A jump cut from the initial reaction shot of the character after hearing a noise to the character's timid movement up the stairs creates an element of disorientation, perhaps reflecting the character's confused, feeble and defenceless position. Straight cuts to black emphasise a slow yet quickening rhythmic pace. The diegetic sound bridge of a clock ticking and a ferocious rocking chair causes an element of intensity and suspense through a steady build-up. The pace is slow leading up to, but the bright flash of lightning hints that occurrences are about to appear more regularly. Takes will become even shorter. A straight cut to black connotes a heavy, harsh edit, perhaps accentuating the forcefulness and power of the supernatural entity that the character will have to face in the film. Eyeline matches occur from the character's point of view to the rocking chair and through the window to the murky and foggy exterior setting, which is shown twice, creating continuity and focusing on the sudden movement of the figure outside. Eyeline matches enable the audience to step in the character's shoes. The audience will be able to understand in depth the protagonist's expression of fright and bewilderment. A longer take is featured after the male character's diegetic speech of "Who's there?" This allows the audience to observe the darkening nature of the supernatural entity. The slamming of light to dark 3 times reveals a quick snippet of the female entity. It also establishes the breaking down of the boundaries of security and danger, life and death, and the closer and closer positioning between the protagonist and antagonist, which will eventually lead to the narrative stage of falling action. The title card, "The Doorway is Opened," is faded into from black. This text clarifies to the audience that there is no going back. A fade from the title card begins a montage of straight cuts and short takes, establishing a fast rhythmic editing. Shots featuring distraught locals, the ghostly, dismembered and horrifying reflection of the female entity screaming back to the protagonist, and the entity causing havoc with fire participate in the final arc of the trailer. An ambiguity is left as to what else will happen, who the entity will affect, and how the film could possibly end. A final straight cut to the black reveals the title of the film, "The Woman in Black," this phase revealing the release date, February 2012. The extreme long shot of the character makes the character seem minuscule. The movement of the train also reveals the character to be new to the area, reinforced by the suitcases he's carrying. Initially creates a sense of inferiority, an unfamiliarity of the location, the idea he's an outsider. A neutral angle of the character shows his head positioned slightly down, showing him to be precautious, unaware of what to expect, uncertain. His black suit with overcoat accentuates him as a professional individual, perhaps juxtaposing with the occupational roles held by the locals. There is dark, low-key lighting, however there is some bright light from the lamps and train, but as the train moves away, so does the light, reflecting the darkness the character will soon find himself in. The setting of a train station creates quite an eerie, isolated and desolate sort of feel, and this setting may have some significance to the character, narrative and plot as a whole. This shot sort of acts sort of as the exposition of the narrative of the trailer. This establishing shot introduces the setting. Grey, misty colours connote misery and uninviting scents, yet the long roadway causes intrigue in the audience as to where it will lead. A high angle of the vehicle suggests the vulnerability of the characters inside. The surrounding sea framing the vehicle creates a forbidden sense, an element of being trapped, no escape. The length of the road is emphasised through a wide shot leading up to the mysterious island. A tracking camera movement of the vehicle creates a sense of a journey that both protagonist and audience are about to begin. Natural lighting is used, however the murky skies indicate it to be a dreary day, reflecting the dark, bleak and desolate nature of the setting. An old-fashioned open-roof vehicle signifies a narrative to be set in the past. This medium-long shot of the protagonist reveals his timid and uneasy body language. His slow and cautious entering onto the land surrounding the property signifies perhaps his hesitancy, also a slight fear, a feeling of being unwanted. The character's wary facial expression demonstrates his concern, but also astonishment at the house he's observing. Within this shot, a dog can be seen to be leading the character. Often in supernatural horrors, pets provide security and protection. However, animals are also put in severe danger or risk from being able to sense supernatural entities, breaking down the protection barrier they provide for characters, and also creating an upset and fear in the audience, but asserting the strength and force of such supernatural occurrences. A medium-long shot also enables the audience to be able to observe the smart, old-fashioned clothing of the character. Black suit with waistcoat and high necktie reinforces a professional element, perhaps visiting the house as part of his duty, supported by the diegetic speech of the female, "Please don't go to Ilmarsh House." It seems as if he has no choice. His clothing also establishes the film to be set in the past. The composition of the shot, it seems as if the worn-down gates are framing the character through his positioning in the centre of the shot, connoting a sense of him being trapped, highlighting his susceptibility. The visuals of trees, overgrown weeds and hedges indicate no sign of life in the house, disorderly, unpleasant environments. However, we soon find out that the house and surrounding land has not been abandoned. A neutral angle of the character positions him as on level with the audience, whilst also enables a clear exposition through Freytag's narrative. An introduction to the character, it also creates a sense of equilibrium. Conflicts or disruptions are yet to be vividly established in the trailer. Natural lighting, sort of dreary, dull skies, indicate the character's surrounding location is gloomy, lifeless. However, this juxtaposes with the rising action and climax of the trailer that takes course inside the house, so action, intensity. A straight cut into this shot from the previous shot reveals an establishing shot of the ghastly manor house. The audience are observing from the character's point of view to understand more in depth the character's hesitancy at entering the house. The character stopping between the two gates also signifies his apprehension, uncertain of whether to step any further. The zooming out of the camera from the character implies his state of vulnerability, there's no way out. It also captures the character's first wandering observations of the house through the slight turning of his head. The character is still framed by the gates, but also by the house. The medium close-up positions him as lining up and in front of the door to enter the house. This shot, taken from an interior point of view, captures the entering of the protagonist into the house. A high angle demonstrates the character's inferiority in comparison to the house. This particular camera angle creates juxtaposition between the bulk of the staircase and the compactness of the door, reinforcing the isolated state the character would feel himself to being, but also his vulnerability to residing in this deserted large house. An unequal balance is displayed. As an audience, we feel as if we are stepping into a character's shoes, observing the protagonist entering the house. It creates a sense that something or someone is watching him, perhaps a supernatural entity. This shot could also act as an extreme long shot, as we can partially see the character's figure opening the door. However, through the use of low-key lighting, his body language and expression is not clear. His black clothing blends with the darkness of the stair banister, but also the chandelier, door and curtains. The large staircase acts as part of a conventional setting within a supernatural horror. Staircases usually feature during moments of high intensity, the anxious motion walking up the stairs after hearing a suspicious, unusual noise. This medium close-up of the protagonist captures his concerned and agitated facial expression, reflecting a state of stress he may be in, or his shock of what he's just discovered. The character looking down alerts to the audience that he's looking at something intriguing, yet worrying but also terrifying, and his expression may also portray a slight confusion A rule of first composition is used in this shot. The protagonist is placed on a point of interest. This attracts the audience to his disconcerted expression, whilst also the eerie, ghostly opening of the door in the distance behind him. This creates a sense of fear, fright, and unease in the audience as to whom opened the door. The mysterious woman dressed in black in the background of the photographs, and to what could happen to the protagonist. The idea of a supernatural entity positioned behind the protagonist displays the power the entity may have over him. This is supported by a neutral camera angle of the character sitting down. It instantly demonstrates a feebleness to him, to be the essence of an entity standing up whilst opening the door. He is unaware of what the entity could do, but remains cautious and alert, reinforced by his sudden turning round in the next shot to see what's happening behind him. A shallow depth of field is used. The protagonist is the central focus, whereas the contents of the background are blurred out, but not enough for us to be able to make out the unsettling opening of the door. Low-key lighting is used, highlighting the night setting. It signifies the defenceless position of the protagonist. The darkness of the shot connotes a chilling, isolated feel. The only light source visible is from the small lamp. However, the character's face is well lit. This may suggest a binary opposition between him and the transparent entity. Purity, innocence, and rationality may be associated to the protagonist, connoting him to be the hero of the film, versus the dark, malevolent, and sinister connotations of the entity throughout the trailer, signifying the entity as the antagonist. The contrast of light and dark also emphasises the boundary between life and death. However, this is soon to be shattered, connecting the two. A high angle of the protagonist in this shot signifies his vulnerability, a weakness to an entity also residing in the house. The positioning of him on the stairs also creates a feeling of suspense, a gripping scene for the audience, as staircases in supernatural horrors are typically settings where a character will face the strength of an evil force, or are used as part of a build-up which the audience expects something or someone to threaten a character. A slight tracking of the camera captures his nervous and timid movement up the stairs, anxious as to what he may find. A medium shot also shows his startled and fearful expression after just having heard a frightening, alarming sound. The protagonist holding both arms tightly to his sides implies his unease, his anxiety. The protagonist observing something not visible to the audience also arouses curiosity. It also enables the audience to be kept on the edge of their seats as to what is leading the protagonist up the stairs and to what he will discover. Props such as dusty, murky, cobwebbed framed photographs indicate the house to have been in a desolate condition and uninhabited for a long period of time. This adds to the fear of the character as to what could be lurking in the house, having been abandoned for so long. It also increases the fright and jitters felt by the audience. An isolated, large, old-fashioned house instantly triggers a fear that it is haunted. Low-key lighting is featured, creating a feeling of mystery and abstruseness. A tracking occurs, placing the steady motion of the character before revealing a medium close-up of the protagonist. The close-up displays his spooked and traumatised expression. His eyeline matched to the violent rocking chair demonstrates his panic as to how the chair could be moving so fiercely on its own. The wideness of his eyes also connotes his bewilderment. His handling of the axe of protection indicates his awareness that all is not well, recognition of disruption of equilibrium. An axe is also a vicious tool, demonstrating the lengths the protagonist will go to in aid of protecting himself from a supernatural force. It implies a sensibility about him. A slight low angle of the character establishes his upper hand, a minor control of the situation this time, and the axe may show the character to be frightened and handling this as a means of protection. However, it might also suggest his power over the supernatural force, and also the fact he's alive means he has what the entity doesn't. A candle lamp is a frequent prop used across supernatural horrors, typically in dark scenes and as the only light source available to a character. Low-key lighting is used, with the candle light highlighting the protagonist's face and making his stunned facial expression the central focus of the shot. The candle light also flickers the corners of the shot. The darkness and low lighting of the background causes a blue light to be visible. This creates an eerie and peculiar effect, adding to the frightening and unsettling scene. This shot acts as a point of view, as if we're looking from the protagonist's position. It allows the audience to view in depth the pitch black the corridor leads to. A complete blackness creates distress and terror, a sense of the unknown in both character and audience, until a spiritual entity in the form of a female dressed in black appears, making her forceful presence known. A visual of her creates an open threat. The climax in terms of Freytag's 5-part narrative structure is taking place. This shot can also be an extreme long shot, once a ghostly figure makes her appearance. We can view, even if only for a second, a full-length black dress, a pale face. The representation of the supernatural entity intertwines with the dark and enigmatic nature of the film. Black connotes evilness and death, capturing the state of the entity. Props such as framed photos, chandeliers, candles and curtains set a chilling atmosphere. The yellow curtain signifies a sense of corruption, poison, perhaps reflecting the danger and menace of the antagonist. This over-the-shoulder shot reveals to the protagonist through a close-up the horrifying, broken reflection of the hideous ghostly figure. The black eye sockets of the entity symbolise evil and maliciousness, whilst her mouth positioned wide open also indicates her to be screaming to the protagonist, perhaps as a warning for him to leave or simply as a means to terrify him. The idea of her appearing in his reflection may highlight that the protagonist is in far too deep. His presence in the house has disturbed and traumatised the entity. In supernatural horrors, characters looking out of windows or into mirrors is a common feature, usually as to reveal some sort of concern or fear a character may have, or to reveal the presence of a supernatural entity to them. The window may act as a protective barrier for the protagonist, the idea that it provides him with security from the entity physically reaching him. A neutral angle shows the positioning of his hand on the window, which perhaps triggered this terrifying reflection. Leaving his mark or interfering with the house may have caused an open threat to be made by the antagonist. A neutral camera angle of the antagonist also positions her as on par with the protagonist, perhaps accentuating both to have a substantial amount of force, the protagonist's beckoning of the entity whilst her menacing nature torments him. The antagonist is the central focus of this shot, whereas the protagonist is blurred, misted out. This allows the audience to observe in depth the disturbed nature of the entity. Her scream may also reveal her torture she herself went through.